appreciate you all. This is no longer just a disagreement between Niger and Benin. This is a defining moment for Africans' dignity, sovereignty, and future. Across the continent, a long silent truth is finally being spoken aloud, and today, President Abdurrahmane Chiani of Niger has drawn a clear line in the sand. He has accused Benin of allowing itself to be used as a strategic outpost for France, a former colonial power that refuses to let Africa truly breathe free. These are not reckless ways. These are the ways of a leader who believes that African states have merely changed form, from colonial flags to military bases, from governors to partners, from direct rule to indirect control. These people always try to change the form in a way that you, the African, will never notice. For decades, African borders have been exploited not to unite us, but to divide us, turning brother against brother, while foreign powers pull the strings from afar. Today, Niger says enough. Enough is enough. Enough of African soil being used against African people. Enough of neighboring states becoming corridors for surveillance, pressure, and destabilization. Enough of pretending that neo-colonial influence is development.
First, 13 Beninese soldiers.
Yes.
Sacrificed.
Subsequently, other attacks followed.
Attacks after which Benin, war particularly Patrice Talon, accused us of being lax towards these terrorists.
The accusators that they are terrorists, we let pass through like a sieve to go attack them. That it is the states of the Confederation that are incapable. Those are his own words. The attacks have multiplied with the most dramatic one, where in broad daylight the game of the French had appeared. This is equipment for a battalion that was placed at the position of a small platoon. A platoon, barely 50 men. It is equipment for more than 400 men that was found at those positions. Even just what the terrorists showed as what they call loot after the attack in northern Benin. Since after this attack,
Benin has completely withdrawn, and states of the AS that leave the boulevard
it became Benin leaving the territory in the hands of these terrorists. But it was a game of compensation because, as I said, when the Beninese withdrew with the reason, in parentheses, to offer themselves strategic depth, that is a depth that will allow to say the enemy coming to deal with him until his last stronghold, while the stronghold is one we ourselves have granted him through enlightened advice, of course from the one we know.
So that's what's happening.
And that is the reason for the redeployment of 350 ISWAP fighters in northern Benin, who are currently in northern Benin and occupy all the positions abandoned by northern Benin under the false pretext of offering themselves strategic depth.
But we must not abuse and use terms like parrots.
For a country to gain strategic depth, it must be capable
to physically ensure this strategic depth.
The French, who are the masters of this Beninese,
Par étape,
or in any case of Talon, for which I apologize to the Beninese, the French do not have strategic depth. Going back to the Second World War, just the Second World War, in how many days did the German troops march on Paris to the Ardennes?
The famous Maginot Line.
The French do not have strategic depth.
Strategic depth cannot be advised in the specific case of Benin.
From Benin, that's it.
In Benin, people need to wake up. They need to listen to what we are saying. They need to act accordingly. We have nothing against Benin. We will have nothing against Benin because we know we are one people. If Patrice Talon thinks that by sacrificing Beninese people, he can offer himself a short term by his choice.
But for us, it is also our choice to resist and to reveal the geostrategic stakes to our populations so that they understand what is happening and avoid being manipulated. That is the situation happening in Benin. And that is what is regrettable about what is happening in Benin, since in Benin, as in Niger, as in Burkina, as in Mali,
it is the defense and security forces who did not fall from the sky, who are sons of the nation who are dying. It's innocent people who are killed every day. And that is why we call on these African countries that are still blind to wake up. It is time to wake up. It is time to end this servile collaboration, as His Excellency Ibrahim Traoré called it, the living room slaves. They must free the living room.
Their prolonged stay in the salon can only harm their country. We need to stop this.
From the Sahel to the Gulf of Guinea, a new Pan-African awoken is rising, one that rejects submission and demands respect. Niger's message is clear. Africa cannot be liberated while African nations host forces that undermine other African nations. Sovereignty is meaningless if it can be rented out. Sovereignty is meaningless if it can be rented out. Independence is an illusion if foreign powers still decide who is punished, who is rewarded, and who is allowed to stand tall. President Tiani's accusation against Benin are not an attack on the Beninese people. They are a warning to African governments still clinging to colonial umbilical cords. This is a clear for African sovereignty over foreign allegiance, for continental unity over external obedience. Because when one African nation is targeted, the wound does not stop at that border. The wound does not stop at that border. It bleeds across the continent. The question now facing Africa is unavoidable. Will African leaders stand with Africa or continue to serve interests that see the continent as a chessboard? This is the moment Pan-Africanism stops being a slogan and becomes a decision. And what unfolds next between Niger and Benin could redefine the balance of power in West Africa and beyond. Pan-Africanism must not continue to be a slogan. If we are fighting for the total liberation of the African, we need to do it in action. We need to start fighting. We need to start uniting. We need to start uniting and not to allow ourselves to be used against our brothers. This is what they have been doing to us, but always the African sits, and only our Pan-Africanism is in our speeches, is in our meetings, is when we meet ourselves. But where we need to act, that is where we see the true Pan-Africans that we claim we are. We are the only ones that can set ourselves free. United we stand, divided we fall, and united we keep standing forever and ever. The greatest enemy of the African is mental slavery. So let's decolonize ourselves from mental slavery. Let's keep sharing to educate our brothers and sisters. Together we'll make Africa great for ourselves and the next generations that are going to come. So that's the latest around the world. In Africa, West Africa, and in Niger.